He says, what's your approach with music technology? Very briefly, as we've been covering with music technology, it's the way you think. As you can see from Slonimsky and from many other music books, different people think different ways. I remember there was a guy I grew up with named Pete Rose. He might still be around. Hey, Pete. I haven't seen him in 50 years. Pete used to come to those Juilliard sessions that I went to with Hubert Laws. We used to sneak in the back room. We used to jam. Eddie Gomez, Hubert Laws. And Pete Rose was this young tenor player from, well, we were all young at that time. I'm talking about 1960. And Pete used to come around, and he was one of the first, like this very unassuming looking, kind of nerdy looking guy, playing like John Coltrane on the tenor, going, you know, wow, Pete, that's incredible. And he said, oh, yeah, and he pulled out this book of his. He says, this is what I figured out. And he showed me this thick book. He figured out all of this stuff of what Coltrane was doing. And it was in a matter of fourths. He had names for things, and it was very interesting. It was like that this guy had worked it out for himself. I mean, of what use it is to anyone else, I have no idea. I never looked into it. It kind of scared me because I didn't understand what he was talking about. So my reason why I'm telling that story is because each one of us has to work out his own way of thinking about these basics of music: melody, harmony, rhythm, construction, voicings, chords, scales, all these words, which are the nomenclature of the words used to describe music. Now, music is the pleasure of sound, delivering the pleasure of sound. And that's what we're trying to result it in. You balance those two things, you know. Like I'm working on a project now with a friend, a beautiful friend, and he gave me this idea. He's, you know, he's at home like the rest of us, and we're locked down, and he wants to extend his humanity to the rest of his human fellows. So he has a thought of humanity. And he expressed that to me, and he says, let's make a song that embraces the human race, so that we can have an ideal future, so we can help one another and care for one another. It was a beautiful, ideally stated thing, and so we began to write a song from that. It was a concept. Then it came to a musical concept, which was let's write a grooving vamp and write a melody that people can sing. So that was that concept. Now that's got to turn into music, and it's not necessary for me to think too much about more than that. That's enough of a concept. So you balance that theory, you come up with some music, and that's to me the balance of theory in music. I mean, I would suggest whatever your instrument is learning how all the if you were going to use the 12 notes of this Western scale, I would suggest learning all about them. Like learn all you can about how these notes are put together, and then you have your we have incredible references that go all the way back to Johann Sebastian Bach and Mozart. All of the great classical composers, they wrote their notes down. So you have all of that as reference. You have all of YouTube giving you reference about people who didn't write their notes down. And then you have all of the recordings of our great jazz music and Latino music of the 20th century and the 21st century. And you have all of this information that you can take as inspirations. You can transcribe stuff. You get into it, learn all you can. That'd be the theory of how you take these 12 notes and make beautiful songs.